Don Global presents the DG Recruit podcast on everything headhunting and recruitment. Achieve the life and career you envision. What's up, game changers? It's your host, Don, founder of Don Global, the headhunting and career coaching company helping you achieve the life and career you envision. In this episode of the DG Recruit podcast, I am excited to share with you the 5 mistakes agency recruiters make when dealing with passive candidates. So the number one thing that happens when you call up a passive candidate, which I would argue is the majority of a headhunter's job. Why? Headhunters are only necessary in passive markets. If you think about it, passive candidate markets. The reason being, you don't really need a lot of people servicing a niche where the clients can find their own candidates. Why would they need you? You're not a free service, you're a paid service. So usually clients only need headhunters in passive candidate markets. Otherwise, like I said, they wouldn't need you to begin with, which is why you hear a lot of headhunters say, well, it's hard to find these candidates. Well, it's hard for me to find these candidates. It should be hard. If it was easy for you to find these candidates, you would literally have no food to eat. And I'm serious about that. A lot of times, like I remember training in the beginning when I had my first managing hire. And every single day she would come to work and she would complain, Don, I can't find these candidates. Nobody wants to talk to me. It's hard to get them on the phone. They don't want to respond. They ignore me. That's a you problem. I mean, that's why you have a job. If candidates were easy to find, if candidates would just naturally respond to you, it means that the candidate forces are against you, which means they're pro the client. Therefore, why do you exist? So headhunters have to be good at passive candidate management and passive candidate dealings because that is our whole ass job, pretty much, right? Your whole job as a headhunter. Let's review that term again. Headhunter, you hunt heads, you hunt people, right? You're a hunter. That prey is not just sitting there like a dumb duck. No, the prey is hiding. They're hiding in the crevices of LinkedIn. And it's your job to unearth them, to make contact, create the linkages, and get them to come out of their hidey holes. Okay, so that's what a headhunter does. So the first mistake that people make with these passive candidates is that they'll call up a candidate. This is very common. Hi, candidate ABC. I want to talk to you, candidate, because I got a job. Candidate ABC goes, hello, headhunter. I'm not interested to speak with you because I'm happy in my role. And then the headhunter goes, oh, I'm sorry for disturbing you. When is a better time to reconnect with you when perhaps you might not be that happy with your job? Is that 3 months from now? Is that 6 months from now? When's a good time for me to follow up? This is the first mistake that you would be surprised, but like a scary amount of people make this mistake where they hear one objection, like, I'm happy in my job. Please don't call me again. And the headhunter is like, okie dokie schmokies, bye-bye. This is just like terrible sales. This is like the worst type of sales. So instead, what is the antidote to this terrible sales response? If you're a professional salesperson, that should never be your response to basically any type of objection. An objection is, I'm happy at my job. Please don't call me. Everything's fine. That's objections. And you need to objection handle. So what is the solution to this exact number one problem that a lot of people have with passive candidates? Number one thing you need to focus on is building rapport. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy to hear that you like your job. Most of the candidates I work with are just like you. They are passive. They are not actively looking. They're actually really happy with their job. I'd love to know, what is it about your role that is really fulfilling to you? What is it about your company that is making your job such a great place to work? Not every candidate has the luck that you have. I'd love to understand more. Let the candidate talk. Open questions. And these questions, if you listen to my trainings on push and pull factors, this is a pull question because it's a positive thing they just said. I like my job. I don't want to quit. Okay, great. Totally understand that. That sounds wonderful. I wish more of my candidates were in that position. And a lot of my candidates are until they're not. So it's also always helpful for me to understand, what kind of things do you really enjoy about your current role? Keep it positive.
Right now, you do not want to be throwing in a push question. You don't want to be right now going, oh, okay, so you love your job. Well, who don't you like at work? Well, what is it that you don't like? That's too jarring. It's not fitting to the conversation that you're having because they're talking about positive things. So a lot of times when candidates talk about positive things, what you want to do is jump right into poll questions. Okay, well, if things could be just perfect, what are one or two things, or maybe just the one thing you might change to make it even better? Again, it's positive. You're building upon the positive. But what you're really doing is trying to pull out some sort of potential future push factor because it's something that they don't have. But you're putting it in a very positive way, which makes it a poll question, something that is pulling them. If you have to pull them out, it would have to be something amazing to pull them out, right? So the strategy is, instead of just saying, okie dokie schmokies, you don't like your job, I won't ever call you again until maybe down the line. If you're not happy, remember little old me, remember to call me. They're never going to remember. They don't even know. You have zero relationship. All right. So that's the dumb thing with that kind of response. It's like, oh, I don't want to talk to you. Okay, fine. I won't talk to you. Maybe you'll call me later. No, they won't call you later. You didn't even push back their most basic of objections. You have zero sales skills, right? Zero. Right? You were scared off by just one simple objection. So good salespeople do not give up after just one simple objection. They will fight it. They will fight to do what I said earlier, which is build rapport, ask open questions. They could be push, they could be pull. It doesn't really matter, but yes, it kind of does. But the point is, you keep the conversation going. I'd rather have you ask a not so great open question than just give up. You see what I mean? Too many people give up. 80% of people will say, okay, candidate, I don't want to talk to you because you just told me you don't want to talk to me. Goodbye. And this is the dumbest thing because you don't even get to make rapport. You don't even get to really have that conversation because you know why? That could be a shadow objection. In reality, they are looking to leave. They're just waiting for the right recruiter to find them. All right. So the next suggestion I said, I already went into push and pull factors. That was the next suggestion I had. That is a mistake that you don't want to make. Again, get really good at asking open questions. This is another mistake that in general, I see a lot of agency recruiters make, is that they're too scared to keep the conversation going. They feel bad for asking more questions. And so they're just kind of like trying to get through the call as quickly as possible. No, again, keep them on the phone. Keep peppering them with really great open questions, either push or pull. It doesn't really matter. Just get the conversation going. The whole point of having push and pull questions is to also gather market intel and really understand from the candidate's perspective what is so important, what makes them excited, how can you sell to them better? And that's why push and pull questions are so important. It helps educate you what is important to the candidate and what gets candidates going, right? For more videos on this, you can absolutely follow my page. You can also listen to the DG Recruit podcast. I have tons of coaching already on this. Number 3, another big mistake that agency recruiters make with passive candidates is they don't stay in touch. And this is a humongous problem. The months and months that you have now let go by after that initial decent phone call, let's say you had a decent phone call where that person kind of knows who you are, enjoyed talking to you, finds you somewhat interesting. You guys had a decent conversation, like I said. And then, God forbid, you did not call them for 6 more months. Will they ever remember you? No, you might, but you might even not. People I've talked to 6 months ago, I might not even remember everything. Thank God it's on my ATS system. Thank God it's in my CRM system. The notes are in my CRM, but still, I may not be very fresh. Once a month is better. And why do I say once a month? People are, once a month is too frequent. You might forget someone if they only reach out to you 4 times a year. 4 times a year is a very low probability hit rate because now 4 out of 12 is 1/3 of the year. If you hit up someone 4 months out of 12, that's 1/3 of the year. That means 2/3 of the year, you are not in contact with this person. And 2/3 of the year, some other recruiter has the opportunity to make friends with that person, as many smart and savvy recruiters who are taking my training courses on the Golden Loop would do. Because the actual rule of thumb is once a month. That is the industry's best practice. Do not try to fight this. Too many candidates are like, no. It's once every 2 months. That's half of the year. Again, you're giving someone else a full year to communicate with your candidate. right? You have to think about the external competitive market. There are other recruiters that exist in this marketplace. You just have to ask yourself, how hungry are they? How hungry is that 24-year-old who is just starting out his or her career, and he or she is extremely ambitious, and she's going to follow Don's coachings on the once a month rule, according to the golden rule, right? The golden loop. The golden loop is once a month. That recruiter is going to call that candidate and they're going to try to touch base. Phone, text, or email. And the phone is going to be the best. If they can't get the hold of the candidate, they'll at least send a text. Hey, just missed you. Hope you're doing well. If you'd love to catch up, let me know. Simple, easy peasy. You're not pitching them anything. You're not jumping down their throat. Again, if you want more training on Golden Loop, make sure to go to my YouTube page, follow and watch the videos, as well as listen to the DG Recruit podcast, because I already talk about Golden Loop a lot. So a lot of people who are missing the trick with passive candidates, they do not Golden Loop. They do not stay in contact. And then they expect the candidate to somehow remember them once every 3 months, which I'm like, good luck. You'll see how good these memories are. A lot of people in their 40s and 50s, aka your candidates, they're not going to have the best brains because they're so busy juggling life and work and family and kids and stress and vacations and paying bills. You are the last thing on their mind. If you want to stay on top of a candidate's mind, make sure to Golden Loop monthly. Number 4, sell them on why they need to be looking when they're not looking. This is a big mistake that a lot of agency recruiters do not engage with. They don't sell the candidate on the benefits of looking when they do not need to look, partly because they have no relationship with the candidate. So if you don't have a relationship with the candidate, of course, you can't give them sage counsel because you guys have zero relationship. And when you have a zero relationship with someone, you cannot give them advice. They will not listen to you because they're like, who the hell are you? Don't tell me what to do, right? So assuming you do have a relationship, a lot of people are scared now, especially in this Gen Z culture. People are scared to sell, to push, to give unsolicited advice because they're like, oh, well, there's no consent. There is a consent. You're on an actual professional phone call. But a lot of people are like, oh, no, I don't want to say anything that is borderline pushy. I won't say it. You know how effective this was for me when I was first starting out in my career was educating candidates. Do you know how important this step of the journey really is? Because your candidates are like sitting ducks. There's nobody educating them. No headhunter is sitting there spending 40 minutes to properly educate these passive candidates. So actually, they really appreciate it when someone they trust, admire, and believe knows their stuff. They really admire it when a headhunter comes along and says, actually, here's why I think you need to be doing this. Because if you don't do this, here's what's going to happen. So a headhunter's job is to understand why it's in the candidate's best interest to interview even when they don't need to be looking. Because a lot of times candidate will say, well, why should I interview? I have a job. I'm happy where I am. I don't think it's necessary. That is another objection. It's your job as a headhunter to know exactly how to handle that particular conversation. So that's another video for another day. So make sure to follow me and listen to the podcast again, because there's tons of training on this particular topic, is that you need to know how to cover this particular objection and what are all the different reasons why it's, again, in the candidate's best interest to talk to hiring managers. As a preview of that, just let them know that it's a competitive market out there and that salaries and money makes a humongous difference. If you have financial goals, you've been working at the same company from 2 to 4 years or plus, you are not going to get those 20 to 40% salary increases that other people in the same role that you're working in will be able to get through a headhunter's services. Because a headhunter essentially is a third-party agent. And this third-party agent, the whole job that we have is to take the products that we have, which are you, the candidate, and to drive up bidding wars. And because we're able to contact a numerous amount of clients and hiring managers to bid on said product, we are able to drive up the market value to an abnormally high rate. Now, the salary increases that we get for people are so astronomical that it literally will change their life. It was not uncommon at all for me to take a 90K-er and get them $130,000 just for working with me. It was not uncommon for me to meet a 250K-er and get them $400,000. That is the power of working with a headhunter. And as a headhunter, you should be educating your candidates on success stories, on how you have helped other people achieve that. It is not uncommon at all that you have been able to do this. In fact, that is the whole point of working with a niche headhunter, is because we only swim in this circle. And because we swim in this circle, we really understand how to drive up market value for this particular candidate and give them lots of options to choose from to boot. So these are all the reasons, just a few of many, that you should be discussing with your candidate to encourage them the benefits of passively interviewing, because I guarantee you that your candidate is a sitting duck and nobody has talked to them about why this might be a good idea. Because like I said, most headhunters would have already stopped talking to your candidate at the first objection, which was, I don't want to look for a job. I'm actually happy where I am. Okay, okie dokie schmalkes. Goodbye. Remember, that's not acceptable. And same as when you're working with the candidate who is passive, you would be doing yourself and them a disservice if you don't properly educate them on why they actually should be interviewing, because they absolutely should be interviewing if they're working at the same company from 2 to 4 years. Abso-freaking-lutely. All right. The last one, stick around, there's a bonus, but the last tip I have for you on this that I've noticed that a lot of agency recruiters are missing out on is that they're not giving their candidates any exit clause. They're not assuring their candidate that, hey, when you work with a headhunter, I don't actually care if I place you. I know that sounds crazy. So let me walk you through some of the word tracks that I use to educate passive candidates on why exactly it is that I don't actually care. And not caring is actually a very powerful sale, because what you want to do is take off the pressure. A lot of candidates, especially if they're very nice people, they will feel guilty if they decide not to move forward with your job opportunity. They, for that fear, will actually rather not do it at all than to do it and end up changing their mind. So what you need to do is give them an exit clause. Like should this not work out, I won't hate you. I won't dislike you. I won't never talk to you again. Actually, should this not work out, I'm totally fine with continuing to stay in touch with you and servicing you, because my goal is making you happy, right? These are the word tracks you want to be using early on in your engagement with the candidate, certainly before you submit. Remember, you're dealing with a passive candidate. Passive candidates are fear-driven. They're scared. They're risk averse, which is why they're passive. They're risk averse at their very core. Somebody who has worked at the same company for 2 to 4 years is naturally conservative from a risk perspective. They do not want to take abnormal amounts of risk. So when they commit to something, they will do it, but they will do it only if they feel certain. What you want to do is remove that necessity for certainty, because it's not important. I don't actually need you to take this job, Mr. Mrs. Candidate. I don't actually need you to get an offer, Mr. Mrs. Candidate. This exercise that we're engaging with is purely for you to actually evaluate the market. If it's interesting, if the role ends up being like a legitimate opportunity for you, if you actually legitimately start falling in love with the new position, then the game gets serious. If you go for a phone screen and you don't like the hiring manager and you don't find the role to be interesting, Mr. Mrs. Candidate, that's totally fine. I completely understand. In fact, I will be glad to take you out of the running, because I don't want you to waste the client's time, and certainly no more of your own time if it's not going to be a role that works for you. I want our channels of communication to be extremely open and transparent, because remember, I am your advocate. As a headhunter, our job is to be the niche candidate market's expert counsel, expert and friend, right? So am I going to bite my friend and say, friend, I can't believe you don't want this job. I'm going to kill you. I hate you. Why don't you want to take this offer? God, this is my commission. You know, you're messing with my life. This is terrible, first of all. So a common thing that I would tell candidates, and I still can't tell candidates to this day, is listen, it's your job to watch out for yourself. You owe it to yourself to look at this opportunity. I'm the conduit that's making it possible. It's my profession to do this for you. I don't actually care if you end up taking the job or not, because you know what? I have other people that I can reach out to. I'm coming to you first to give you the first crack at it. It's yours to lose. You don't like it, I'll pull you out. Like literally, you just tell me and I'll pull you out. This is extremely effective. This is really effective. This word track is really effective because candidates are like, holy cow, she really doesn't care. I'm like, I genuinely don't. Like, I don't care. I'm not banking on you for my next meal. I really am not, because I have a humongous network. Like, it's going to be you or it's going to be somebody else. Like, it really does not matter to me. I get paid either way. I'm going to fill this job with or without you, right? Like, I genuinely will. Like, I'm very good at my job. I know how to find these people. In fact, I know a lot of them. I'm just giving you the first crack. It's your game to lose. This type of stuff is like next level sales training. So this is the stuff that if you use in the real world, it's going to take that risk off. It's actually going to drive a deep desire for the candidate to now interview. They're like, no. Don't give it to everybody else. Let me do my thing. Let me try. And before you know it, psychologically, they want the opportunity more. It's just how the psychology of scarcity works. Like, and you're not trying to scare them. This is the beauty of it all. I'm legit. Like, I'm genuine when I'm saying that. When I tell a candidate, I don't care. I genuinely don't care. I have a lot of money. I'll literally tell candidates that. I have a lot of money. I'm a millionaire. I do not need your little commission to make my day. Like, I genuinely don't. Like, I'm doing really well. I'm one of the, like, when I used to work at the firm, I'd say the same thing. I'm doing really well. I'm one of the top performers at my company. Like, with or without you, I'll place this job, honestly. Don't even worry about it. Like, don't worry about me. I'm fine. Like, you don't want the job, that's fine. I don't care. Like, I got plenty of candidates. Like, I genuinely do not care. I'm just giving you this opportunity. So don't if you don't like it, no shirt off my back. I'll take you right out and we'll be cool. Like, I that's my job. It's part of my job. Like, normalize it. There shouldn't be this like guilt on the candidate's behalf, because it's literally part of our job, right? If a candidate doesn't want a job, like, it's part of our job to tell the client, hey, the candidate doesn't want the role. Goodbye. It's not hard. Say no. It's not hard. It's part of our job to say no professionally, right? So you got to educate the candidate on this, because they don't know. They feel bad. They feel guilty. They see this as a, tit for tat thing. And they're like, oh gosh, I don't want Donna to hate me if I end up not wanting to take the job. See, that's where their head's at. And you got to negate that fear, because that's not a real fear. I don't care if you don't want the job. I got like 4 people lined up. Like, don't worry. All right. So the bonus tip I have for you here is, a lot of people don't do this with passive candidates, and it's really, really important. Build a relationship with them before they need to start looking. I mean, that is the golden period. A lot of people think too transactionally. They only want to deal with the candidate when the candidate's having a bad day and is movable. But you have to understand that that might not be a real situation. How many times have I talked to a passive candidate who had a bad day and they're not genuinely movable? Like, you have a deeper conversation, you're like, oh, you still want to stay. You're just bitching. You just had a bad day at work, just wanted to complain to someone. I happen to be that person. Oh, you don't actually want to look for a job. See, the best headhunters know how to discern between a true need to leave and or a bitch session. Like, a true proper headhunter can recognize the difference. But juniors, entry level, people that aren't savvy with people and they're like sort of micro behaviors, people who aren't expert at dealing with people will mistakenly think that a candidate who is complaining about their job or complaining about their boss wants to move companies, when the candidate's only goal was to just complain to somebody who would listen. And so you have to be very discerning of a true need to move versus just someone who wants to run their mouth for the day and who a week later changes their mind. I'm so good at doing this because I will not represent the candidate. I just won't. I won't. And I wait for them to come to me again. Like, I literally will be like, you don't sound like you really want to move. Let's connect next week and see how you feel. And usually the candidate does not call me again, even though they'll call me 2-3 months from now. Oh, I'm having another bad day at work. And the same cycle repeats itself. There are certain candidates that are in that boat where you're the only person that they can talk to. But this goes back to my tip, which is you got to deepen the relationship and build an exclusive relationship with this candidate. And the reason why, even though it's annoying that they'll call you and they'll bother you and they'll tell you all this stuff about their job when they're not really serious about moving, and you're like, why call me if you don't want to move? Again, it's a good thing. You want that to happen. You want to be your candidate's trusted advisor. In fact, you want to be their only advisor. You want exclusivity. And exclusivity is a right that is earned. I earn my exclusivity with my candidates because I'm there to listen to them 99% of the time. And when I'm there 99% of the time, they will trust you 99% of the time, certainly over other recruiters, right? And the whole beauty of it is that you do become their trusted confidant, and they'll only call you for good and for bad. But the thing is, the moment they want to move, you'll also be their phone call. You'll be their first phone call. So these are the magic words that you want to say to a passive candidate. Please do not hesitate to reach me when you're having a bad day. Please do not hesitate to call me first. When you see a job coming your way or some other recruiter wants to represent you, just check in with me. Check in with me. Make sure that I can give you some insight into if that job's any good, if that hiring manager is any good, because a lot of recruiters randomly will have jobs in our space, but they're not professionals in our space. They just happen to have one client that happens to have one job in our space. So they're not really subject matter experts like I am. I want to make sure you call me every time because they might just be representing like the worst job in the world. They don't even know it. This happens a lot in our industry. So I want you to make sure you make me your first call. I want us to have this exclusive relationship because I want to be able to give you all the support you need. I want to be able to help you with your resume. I want to be able to help you with your career coaching. The way that you can reciprocate is by making me your first call, making me your only call, making me your first recruiter and only recruiter that you really are going to have that relationship with me. And it's a two-way street. You got to educate your candidates around exclusivity, but you also have to be an expert in your market space. You cannot offer exclusivity if you are a generalist recruiter. That's not sincere. You can't be an expert recruiter if you're a generalist, which is why I always tell headhunters, you cannot be a generalist headhunter. It doesn't work like that. This industry does not work like that. You got to get very, very deep into a market space, be the expert in that space. And that's how this whole shebang works. And if you don't have that expertise, it's going to be really hard for you to win the loyalty and the trust of your candidate community because you don't know what you're talking about if you're not really in that space. So that's a whole nother discussion for another day. I've again touched upon the importance of having a niche for a very, very long time. And it's the only way to run a proper recruitment firm is to have niche recruiters in your practice. You can't just be a jack of all trades. This industry does not respect that. So the bonus tip, again, TLDR, it is deepen your relationship, build exclusivity with your candidate all throughout. Make me your first call. Those are the magic words. All right. So those are the 5 things with that bonus content, which does make it 6. The 6 mistakes that I see people make with passive candidates that I don't think you should be making, because that is literally the trick. Those are the secrets of how the top billers do it so that they're first on the scene, first in the game, and able to represent passive candidates to excellent results.